Hi there, this is Elizabeth Yang with Hmong Women Take on the World. I'm so excited to have you join us today. Facebook live as we talk to our sisters from all over the US, talking about owning your strengths, Hmong women professionals rising. Just last month, I had shared with you about Hmong Women Take on the World sponsoring and working with strengths coach Eva Lee to offer our sisters an opportunity to take the Clifton Strengths assessment and participate in the online coaching program session. Now we get an opportunity to do a reflection on how the assessment went, how the program played out, and what are some of the things that our Hmong sisters learned about themselves. As you know, here at Women Take on the World, we believe that when one rises, we all rise. And it is my aim, as well as the Global Sisterhood aim, to be able to connect and inspire sisters from all around the world. We want to be able to create a global sisterhood network that allows you to find your tribe in order to thrive. And so today I'm really excited to have Eva Lee, strengths coach, join us tonight, along with the sisters that participated in the coaching session. In just a moment here, I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves. But we have Lori Xiong from Alaska joining us tonight, as well as Thao from California and Moua from North Carolina. How are you doing tonight, ladies?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Well, it's so wonderful to have you join us tonight. Tonight is really a conversation about owning your strengths and what that journey has looked like for you. I'm going to go ahead and start with introductions. Eva Lee, I'm going to start with you, our strengths coach. Go ahead and just share with us and tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to see everyone again. My name is Eva Lee, and I'm from California. I am a certified Gallup Strengths coach, and I get an opportunity to share with everyone about this exciting way to learn about your strengths. And I hope that folks get an opportunity to take it, as well as discover what they're great at. And so I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you, Eva. And then what about you, Ka? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Thao. I am from San Francisco, California, and I am working and going to school. I'm really excited to, partake in this opportunity to learn more about my strengths.
Thank you, Ka. And Lori Xiong from Anchorage, Alaska. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, so I'm Lori Xiong. I'm from Anchorage, Alaska, and I am a mom of three, and I'm currently in the education and counseling field. So nice to be here with you guys tonight.
Awesome. And then Mia, go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Mia. My last name is Moua. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm a corporate tax accountant, and I have two beautiful sons, 20 and 13.
Oh, well, thanks for joining us tonight, ladies. So before we dive right in about the coaching program, why don't you three share with us what your top five strengths were? So let me start with you, Mia. What were your top five strengths from the Clifton Strengths assessment that you took?
My top five was responsibility, harmony, empathy, belief, and connectedness.
Awesome. And what about you, Lori?
Mine was belief, ideation, learner, responsibility, and includer.
And then you, Ka?
Focus, learner, achiever, input, deliberate.
That's awesome. So, Eva, if people wanted to learn more about these strengths and the descriptions and what each of them means, where do you suggest they should go?
Yeah, so the general 34 themes are already on Gallup's website. So if they're to go to gallupstrengthcenter.com, they'll be able to, under the resource tab, able to see all of the 34 general description of each theme. Again, this is very general. Until they actually take the assessment themselves, then they can go and pull up the report and actually have a more personalized description of your strengths.
That's amazing. So just for those that are watching and maybe Eva, they haven't heard about Clifton Strengths or formerly known as Strength Finders before, could you just remind people what that assessment is and why I know why I love it, but why we decided to work with that as part of this program?
Yeah. So there are a lot of different types of assessments out there, and some are measuring like interest, personality. But this one specifically is called the Clifton Strengths, or also formerly known as Strengths Finder. And it's about 120 questions. They're like Likert scale type of questions, and you get 20 seconds to answer them. And they're really aimed to helping folks discover what their talents are, and then essentially their strengths. So again, that natural way of behaving, feeling, and thinking.
Awesome. It's amazing. So tonight we're going to be talking about strengths. We won't have the time to talk about each of your 5 strengths. So ladies, I would love to hear from you. What is that one strength that when you read your report and you realized what your top 5 strengths are, what was that one strength that just really deeply reflected who you are, that you just really felt really connected to? So Ka, I'm going to start with you. What was that one strength out of your top 5 that you felt deeply reflected you and who you are?
Out of my top 5, the number 1 was focus. And when I read the description, there were various reports that came out from it. The one that I found that was most focused on me was the insight. So I read it, and that's when I was like, oh man, this is like a lot like me. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot like me in this respect that it talks about how I'm like really focused, and I could just completely, set a target and finish it and be really goal oriented. And I've noticed that like when I reflect on it, I've noticed that in my work, where I could completely like be so focused on doing my job that like I forget all the nonsense, or just could completely ignore like coworkers that come talk to me. Like it's to that level. I guess it's bad and good both ways, but I feel like that really speaks to me. Additionally, I feel like I could work tremendously long hours, like on anything, and just focus and still at the very end, like learn everything in that time interval. So I feel like that really assesses my character really well.
That's awesome. Eva, is there anything that you would add about a strength of focus and what that means to a person that, for Ka, you picked the one strength, but that was your top strength that showed up for you. So anything that you would add to that, Eva?
Yeah, so focus is great in that way. And in our group coaching session, I think we kind of talked about there's certain things with each strength that has some sort of, not repercussion so much, but more of like in the areas that when you do things well, there are things you're going to miss out. And I was telling Cheryl Ka too, like there are times where like, oh, I'm so focused that you're not hungry anymore. You forget everything else that's happening in the background. And so absolutely, that's very normal with people with focus. But again, every strength is going to be different and defined differently for each one, but they'll share very common themes. Focus is my number 1 as well. But one of the things I think that focus does very well in any team dynamic is that it helps the team get back on track. Mm-hmm. So when teams are working and they get off into side tangents, focus helps people, let's go back to our goal again. What was our goal? Yeah. So it helps move the team further and faster.
I love that. You definitely need someone to kind of keep the team focused instead of, the next person looking at that next shiny object, that they're continuously focused on the path ahead of them. What about you, Lori? What was the one strength that you felt just really deeply embodied who you are?
Well, I definitely think that belief, which is my number 1, that showed up on my Gallup Strength is truly, it does really reflect who I am. It really aligns what kind of work I do. Belief is really about knowing who you are, your roots, where you're from, and then working from that on the outside. So I work currently in the education field, in the community as a counselor too, and I get a chance to do all of that having the strength, because the strength is what makes me who I am into the community that I work with. So that was my number one.
Oh, it's amazing. Anything else that you would add to that, Eva? I feel like that's...
No, I think Lori hit it pretty straight on the nail there. With belief, that's the wonderful thing about it, is that they're unchanging. They tend to be the folks who have they stick to their core values a lot. They're the ones who just are who works in that way outside. You're already working with the people, you're engaged in the community, and you see them for what they are, and you just want to help them, and you believe in them. They're a great addition to any team, and I think that's wonderful.
That's awesome. And then Mia, what about you? What was that one strength that you felt reflected who you are?
Responsibility was the top one of my 5 strengths, and when I was reading that, it was just right on for me. It is my core belief in what I do, and when I take on a project or ownership or any activity or any project that I do, I always feel that I have to carry that all the way to the end, and I don't want to let anybody down. And so I feel that it's really reflective of who I am and what I do, and at home as well as at work. I find that if I say I'm going to do this for you, then I have to. It's something that I need to accomplish for you.
That's amazing. So it's so amazing that each of you took your first strengths that showed up and really felt like that one was the one that really resonated with you. Were there any strengths that maybe anything that surprised you after reading the report, anything at all? And I'll open this up to anybody at all on what, was there any surprises after you read your assessment, your report?
I can share. I was surprised that harmony was my second top strength. I mean, it's just the way that I communicate with people, but I was really surprised that was up there. I didn't even consider that as a strength at all, and who I am at all. But it's something that I know that when I deal with people or communicate with people, it's always in the back of my mind, but I just never consider it a strength for me.
That's a great one. And tell us a little bit more about harmony. When a person has that strength, how does that show up?
I think that I want to make a working relationship a good working relationship well. So I tend to listen to what they have to say and try to understand their perspective and try to develop a relationship where we can work well together, that it's a win-win relationship between us.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other surprises that came up for you?
I think mine was ideation. And I think Eva could probably go into this a little bit more, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. By myself, ideation is my number 2. Someone who's just talented in the ideation theme, which is fascinated by ideas. I am a person who enjoys different themes and ideas, and I didn't know that played into a strength of mine. So I was quite surprised by that one as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, those are some really good ones as well. I know when Eva and I were talking last time, one of my strengths was command, and that was a strength that I was just not comfortable with. It just made me feel so not Hmong, not as a Hmong woman. Like, it just really made me feel uncomfortable the first time that I read it. And Eva, I can't remember for you, what was your strength that you were really surprised by?
Significance.
Yeah, significance. Yeah. And that made, me feel, my strength made me feel uncomfortable until I saw it in action as well. Any other surprises that you guys want to share with the audience? Okay.
I was surprised that a lot of my strengths came out from like two categories, and they lean very heavily on like being very interested in learning new things and being like studious and scholarly, and so I was just very surprised that like it kind of like I think it was like at least 3 or 4 out of the 5 that like mentioned that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've always known to be like a very curious person growing up, and always puzzled by different things. But I was just surprised that it just was spoken out through all these characters and all these roles.
Was there anything that not only just surprised you, that maybe made you uncomfortable, or that maybe you wished was different for you? Like your initial reaction for that? I know for me it was really around, like as I mentioned, command, and trying to just be like, I wish I had another strength. Like, for example, gosh, that strength, her strength of connectedness, I want that for myself, And so Eva, I know you and I had talked about this, but just because you have the top 5 strengths doesn't necessarily mean, right, that you don't have any of these other strengths. Could you share with the audience a little bit more about like the 34 strengths and how that works? Because I know for me, I was a little strength envy the first time I took it, because I was like, I like her strengths. Her strengths are the ones I want for myself.
Yeah. So remember, so when you take the report, you get technically there's 34 of them, and they're all ranked according to what best describes your strengths, the one you use naturally, the way you behave and feel. So the first 5, the top 5, is what's revealed to you when you take the assessment. If you want to see the full list of 34 and where they're ranked, you're more than welcome to. You can unlock it. There is a fee for it, but essentially it's the same report, but they only reveal you your top 5. We all have 34 in all of us. However, the top 5 are going to be those that are more natural to us. It's easier for us to operate in that way and lead that way. So remember, I tell folks, if technically you don't have to retake it again. If you do, most likely you'll just end up with the same top 5 in different orders. Oftentimes we see people also with their top 10 mix up in there. 1 or 2 or 3 will emerge up. So we call them the dominant talents, and then there's the lesser talents, and then there's the the lower rank ones where it's not very natural. It's actually harder for us to operate in that way. So I tell folks, wait, 5 to 10 years and take it again and kind of see where they are. But you don't have to wait 5 to 10 years. If you really wanted to see the full 34, you can unlock it. You just have to pay a little small fee for it.
And so if you are watching us tonight, right now, if you can just in the comments put #live if you're watching this live, or #replay if you're catching this as a replay. I am joined tonight by Eva Lee, our strengths coach, as well as 3 beautiful, amazing sisters who were part of our August group online coaching session where they took the Clifton Strengths Assessment. And tonight we are talking about owning your strengths and how Hmong women professionals can rise when we know about our strengths. So again, if you could just take a moment to just put a #live or a #replay in the comments to let me know how you're catching this, that would be great. And if you could also take a moment to share this so that we can continue to inspire others to invest in their growth and their development, I would really appreciate that. So Eva, for those that have not participated in a online coaching group or even like a one-on-one coaching session before, could you just walk us through what that looks like?
Right. So typically I do in-person one-on-one, and we get about an hour and a half to 2 hours just working on what your top 5 strengths are, exploring what they look like, how do they appear in your life, how do you define them, and what are some of your challenges that's in your role right now, and how would you utilize your strengths? And we also talk about how do you convert this narrative into an actual interview, answer in the future for whatever job you might want to go towards. So that tends to be the in-person one. But the online version is a little bit different, and folks can kind of share a little bit more about their experience online because there's other narratives, right? There's other folks online. You're hearing different versions of maybe the same strength that you both share. So we go through similar process where we learn about what the top 5 strengths are, what is interesting to you, what you find challenging, as well as what is going to be the strength that can help you propel you and move you forward to address some of those concerns that's happening in your life, in your role today. And so it's a more of a fast forward version, but with other folks involved. It does require a little bit more of a stronger communication skill set from you. And that's because you have to listen and also share verbally.
Got it. So ladies, what was that coaching session like for you? Can you share with our audience and share a little bit more about what that felt like for you?
Well, definitely I'll say that the session is full of multiple questions, and you have a certain amount of time to get them answered. But it's also a series of questions that really hones down to see where your perspectives are and how you see yourself and how you're challenged. So those were some really good areas for me to kind of to just look at and say, is this really me, or is this something I'm not interested in? And when it started to come down and hone down on those questions, that was when I started to realize it sounded more like maybe we were taking questions that seemed pretty similar, but at the same time, it was rewarding to know that these questions were going towards the end assessment to help me to find out where I was. So that was my process of taking the assessment itself.
Okay, so you're talking about the actual assessment, which you actually took before the actual group online coaching session
Yes.
conversation with Eva. Okay.
Yes.
What about the rest of you guys, Mia or Ka? What has that experience been like, whether it's the assessment or even the online coaching session with Eva?
So for me, after I took the online assessment, I got that master's report, and then a list of this is what you are, and here's a breakdown. I just felt like at one point I was like, wait, I was questioning, is this really who I am? Like, is this really true? Like, I didn't really understand. Like, I was still questioning the whole thing. But like, when we got together, with Eva to kind of, hash some of these things out, that's when I was like, oh, and then I was like, okay, let me reread this insight. And then that's when I really reflected upon like my strengths, and I, came to accept that, those are my strengths, and, I can use those to my benefit. And it was also really good, hearing what other individuals and what their strengths were. And from there, I was able to, listen, and they were sharing like, little stories about or anecdotes of how these strengths kind of represent how their lives and how they proceed in interviews or in, personal or professional lifestyles. So from there, I was able to make a good time reflection and, really hone down and has learned to accept this, the evaluation.
So I love what you're saying there, Ka, which is what I heard from you was really about really trying to understand the assessment, but it sounded like there was a little bit of hesitation, like, I don't know if this is really me, right? So why do you think that it was kind of hard for you to just feel like these are my strengths? Did you not like them, or did it just feel like a little uncomfortable for you? I'm just really curious because that's one of the reactions that I also shared as well.
Yeah, I think for me was that, like, I always knew who I was. It's just that, like, I didn't have a term to categorize it or describe it, that's how I am. And, just categorizing that way. And so when I, read it, like, I was like, oh, I'm not focused. I'm not a learner. I'm not an achiever, you know? But then when I kind of read more into the stories and the insight report, there are different examples of people's stories. And, you know, when I read those, I was able to kind of relate to a lot of them in terms of, you know, how, you know, they perceive each strength. And from there, I was like, yeah, it really clicked for me. So I think for me, it was just a shift of, yeah, there are actually words to describe who you are or like your strengths. And yeah, I never really put it in, you know, words to it, you know? I always knew I was that way.
Oh, I love that. What about Mia? What was your experience like with the online coaching session or even just the assessment?
I thought it was really great. My top strength, I think probably three of them wasn't anything that I would consider my strength at all. So I was really surprised by them. It's something that, you know, I've always known for me, but I've never utilized it in the workplace because I always thought those were weaknesses instead of strength. And after taking that and listening to the videos of what each strength represents from the people that were doing the videos online, it gave me a new perspective of how I can use those as my strength. And it was really empowering to me and was very encouraging to me. And after taking that and reflecting on it for these past couple of weeks, I feel more confident that I have those strengths, that I just need to use that. And when you have that confidence, you're able to use that. It makes you stronger in any role that you are in your work environment. So I thought it was very good. I was grateful that I had an opportunity to take this and learn a little bit about myself and appreciate that I do have those strengths before I didn't consider it as a strength. So it was really great for me.
I love that. And have you, or any of you ladies, have you worked with a coach before? Was this your first time, or have you worked with coaches before in the past? I'm just curious.
I have never worked with a coach before.
Okay.
So this is something that is new, and I really appreciate that Eva gave us the opportunity to do this, as well as you too, Elizabeth.
You know, I just really believe in sisters betting on herself. You know, sometimes I think that sometimes, you know, when we work like in a company, we keep expecting our managers to invest in us or give us training, and you know, and then we get upset perhaps or discouraged when the training isn't happening. And I am just a really big believer that in your budget you should have like some money set aside to invest in yourself. And it's great if you can ask your employer to reimburse you, but even if they say no and this is something in your heart that you really want to do, that you still train and invest in yourself. And I, for me personally, have been doing that, you know, since I graduated my undergrad, and it just allows, you know, me to really invest in myself and really build confidence. You know, I talk a lot about competence. Sometimes big sisters Hmong, we need to feel competent with all our different degrees or schooling to feel confident. And for me, that was a little bit true too. And so, you know, for me, this is just an amazing opportunity to have sisters, you know, invest in them. And I know when Eva approached me and said, hey, I'm working on this, as I've shared before, I just really wanted to support Eva as a strengths coach. And I just thought it was a great opportunity to have Hmong Women Take on the World sponsor and be a part of that and make these opportunities available to sisters that have never taken strengths before or done coaching, because I really want to inspire sisters that if you don't bet on you, who is going to bet on you, right? And so if we don't, you know, it's, to me, it's like self-love and self-care, you know, and when it comes to your growth and development, you know, you have to be very intentional about investing in yourself, because, you know, you don't need your manager to do that. You don't need someone else to do that. If that's what you really want for yourself, then, you know, it's really about for you, you know. Anyone else? Whether or not you've worked with a coach before?
I've worked with other coaches in terms of like, you know, workout coach or, you know, coach for, doing resumes, or, coach for academia, that kind of thing. But I feel like this is a different level. It's coaching for my personal development, and this is something different. And I can definitely agree with you that, it's just investing into myself, and this is great, and this is what, I should do more often. And I really appreciate, the opportunity to, be a part of this and to do that.
Yeah, I think it's amazing what you just said, talking about workout coach or even a resume coach. I mean, there's an advantage with working with an expert that knows his or her stuff, that can just tell you exactly what you need to do, or tell you where maybe you have a blind spot, because we all have blind spots. And so instead of researching online for hours trying to figure out how to do it, sometimes just working with a coach who has the experience, they can easily just tell you, like, oh, this is where you need to focus on, So I love that. Thanks for sharing that, Kyle. So share with us a little bit, ladies, since the coaching, since strengths, and you discovering what your strengths are, what have you become more aware of since the session? Anything that is a big aha moment or a big learning for you?
I think I like to say that from this coaching session, the assessment itself, that I've learned to know more about myself, and that I can actually execute really quickly, responsibly too, being accountable for the type of execution that I take on when I'm at work.
Oh,
so so for example, like if I need to have something done, and maybe I may not have a few team members who can actually help me, because we're all working on a big project together, but my part, when it's time and I have to get it turned in like that day by like 4:00, I magically find a way to just get it there and done at that time. And it's really kind of amazing to know that about myself, because I think before I took this assessment and go through this coaching with Eva, I didn't see myself doing that. I always knew, like, okay, maybe I'm good at getting something completed, but I didn't know that it was a strength. And now that I understand that it's a strength, I can utilize that in different ways, different facets of what I'm doing, which is kind of mind-blowing to me, to know that I'm empowering myself to get that done, and I know how to get it done when I need to.
That is so beautiful, Lori. I love that, because what you're talking about, what I heard from you, because I can see you're like glowing on this side, I can just see it on you, is you're leveraging your strength, and you're just able to say, wow, that's my strength, and now I can leverage it, I can put it to use, and it's going to serve more people, and it's going to also serve me too, is what you're saying, which is
definitely.
So happy. That's great. I'm really happy for you. Anything else that you've become more aware of since learning about your strengths and stepping into owning your strengths?
I think for me, I have a greater appreciation for my strength now. Instead of not suppressing it, I'm more open to utilizing it right now in the way I deal with people, because my strength is relationship building. And I didn't realize that was one of them. That was the top one, actually. So instead of suppressing that, I'm learning how to cultivate that and use that for my benefit now.
Can you give us a specific example of how that might look like, Mia, for those that are not familiar with what it means to be a relationship builder?
I guess I'm learning that instead of isolating myself and taking on, because I'm a responsible person as well, that was my thought, I tend to take ownership with it, and I don't build relationship with other people because I don't trust them enough to get it accomplished, so I always depend on myself. But with that understanding, I'm learning to let go of that responsibility and don't feel that much that much pressure again. I'm doing it on my own, but sharing that with somebody else that may have the skill that might make this project even more successful, you know. And that's what I've learned, that I'm letting go of certain things, but also appreciating that I can also work with other people and bring them on to the project and have a good working relationship going forward.
That is so beautiful, Mia. It sounds like for you, before it was really about responsibility and almost like you didn't trust the other person to get the job done, and no one could do it except you, right? um, I'm guilty of that too, but it sounds like but then your big aha moment was that you needed to share that responsibility, and because you're a relationship builder, it was almost like, I love what you said, like letting go and just knowing that you're sharing your responsibility, that it's a shared sense of responsibility in building those relationships. It's so beautiful. It's awesome. Wow. It just, and it's so hard to believe that in just a short amount of a few weeks that awareness has started to open up doors for you. And the funny thing is that your job or everyday work environment, like, it probably hasn't even really changed, but what has changed is your perception, right? Your mindset and how you perceive yourself in relation to your work environment, or for you, your graduate study environment. And I think that's really what the power of investing in your growth and development is that you don't sometimes have control over what happens outside of your world or your work or your environment. But when you invest in yourself and you start to own your strengths and realize that, then all of a sudden it's like the world is the same, but you're not. You're more aware. I don't know, Eva, you work with a lot of students as well as other professionals. You probably get to hear this more often than we do tonight. But I mean, is that expected?
Right, it's absolutely. I mean, the goal of us, and when we're doing whether it's online or whether it's in person, I walk you through understanding the assessment. I think Kyle alluded to it earlier, where it's like you get this 20-page report, right? And you're just there's actually a lot of different types of reports. Yes. And you don't know, because some of them, the regular insight ones, are very general. So we look at the personalized one and we sort of hash it through. The first piece is about awareness, understand what are these strengths, what are they called, and why are they called that? And how does that part of who you are, how does that appear in your life? And then we walk through about the different narratives and different strategies that folks who utilize these strengths, how they operate the best. And so when Mia was talking earlier about the responsibility and accountability and working in that relationship building, then essentially we talk about is how do you lead with these strengths? Absolutely. So you create this awareness bubble, right? I don't know if people heard of Johari's window. Has anyone heard of that before?
No, I have not heard of that.
So Johari's window is by two people. I forgot their full names, but it's called Johari's window. It's an acronym for their names. But it's like you only know a little piece of the square, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're able to reflect and increase your awareness, the window opens up a little bigger, a little wider, right? And essentially, that's your awareness bubble. It's increasing significantly. And it's more about you. It's the awareness that is about who you are. What are you great at, right? What's easy to you and what's comfortable? Where and how you operate the best. And so what I hear from many students I work with, it's like I'm operating in the dark, right? You're kind of just trying to get to the door and the window. And somehow the light just turned on and you're able to quickly see it and just go straight to it. So oftentimes that's what it is. It's just more if the lights come on a little bit, or as some folks said, the window just opens up and I can see things a little bit better. And then what I'm seeing is myself, and right, I'm seeing more about who I am and what I'm capable of and what I'm ready to offer.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's amazing. And what was this called again, Eva?
Johari's
window. Okay.
I'll type it in a bit.
Yes, that's amazing. I love that.
Follow along, but it's just really metaphor for, again, increasing our self-awareness.
Yeah.
And some things we know, some things we don't know, And our goal is just to increase that window so that we know a little bit more.
I love that. I'm gonna have to look that up because I mean we all have blind spots. I have blind spots, right? But it's like a blind spot. Like when you're driving, there's a blind spot, right? And you're not able to see cars in a certain zone. But even for us, it's like when you invest in your growth and you bet on yourself, all of a sudden this awareness happens, and what was maybe a blind spot before, now you see, and it's really hard to not see that spot once you see it. And so I love that philosophy or that method. You'll have to share that with us. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up this amazing conversation tonight. Now, let's talk a little bit about, like, what's your advice for sisters in investing in her growth and development? What advice would you leave Becca Vingao with, as, if there's someone in the audience who's contemplating investing in herself, what advice would you give her? And I'll just throw this and open this up to everyone here at the group.
I'll just say, do it. You don't have anything to lose. If anything, it benefits you. For me, when I did this, like, I felt like a lot of these were like, because they're my top, that means I use them, most frequently. I'm just more aware of it. I try to utilize other strengths, and I try to kind of lessen some of, the ones that I, frequently go to, because that's my comfort zone. I tend to kind of be more observant of it and try to, like, for example, like the focus one, I would be so focused, I would just, just exclude everyone. But then now that I'm aware of it, I feel like when someone comes up, like I'm aware, I stop, I look up, and then we have a conversation, or, and another one was like achiever, where I feel like I'm always on the go. I don't pause to think and kind of like celebrate all my achievements. So I feel from that, it just gives you the full picture. It lets you take control of your life in terms of where you can just use these strengths to your benefit. And you gain like more confidence from that in terms of, if you ever have an interview coming up. So all of this that you can leverage to your benefit. And I just feel like you should go for it, especially, after you do the report and you get this long ass, report, that's 20 pages long. And there's Emma who could like explain to you what that means. So just go for it, and you'll be glad that you did this, that you treat yourself. You know how sometimes you treat yourself to, massage or to nail salon? Same thing, same idea. It's just now, it's good for you. Do it.
Thanks, Ka. Anyone else?
I would say that investing is an opportunity for you to be accountable in your strengths and show how you define your purpose in the workforce or just in your life in general. And your growth will show your productivity over time. So you're really investing in yourself, taking care of yourself, and also being able to produce the best of you when you're out there with everyone else. So.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Lori.
And I want to say something too. I think Oprah said it best when she said, "There's no such thing as luck. It's preparation meeting the opportune time." And I think that when we get so comfortable in what we're doing, we forget to consider developing ourselves further. And with taking this assessment, in the past, I've always focused on my weakness and work to build that weakness. But after taking this assessment, my perspective changed. I want to focus on building upon my strength instead of my weaknesses. And I think that doing that, I would be more influential what I'm doing going forward. So I think it's a great opportunity. If anybody wants to do it, go ahead and do it, because it's going to benefit you.
That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, I think when we focus our energy on things that make us feel better, like focusing on our strengths where it comes so naturally, it just feels better. It's not even just about feeling better. It's that when you focus on your strengths, like you were just saying, you just feel better. And I don't know, I call Oprah Mama O. I feel like her and I have this conversation like every day. So so I'm always like, Mama O, what should I do? And so she's always like giving me some word of wisdom, right? So me and Oprah are like this, at least, in my daily mantras. All right. So as we start to wrap up this discussion, this reflection, I just want to just thank you so much for your commitment in investing in yourself, but also taking part in this coaching session with Eva Lee, and then making the time to also be a part of this reflection conversation. It was so important for me when I talked to Eva to say that, if we were going to be able to sponsor this and provide this opportunity, I just didn't want sisters to just take the assessment and learn for themselves, and then no one else like learns or hears from them ever again. I really wanted this to be a space where we are sharing our stories. As you know, each of our stories are so powerful in their own way. And when we share our stories and we give ourselves permission to share our stories, we also give many others permission to share their stories. And for me personally, I knew the power of strengths through my own personal experience, and I wanted to provide that level of confidence to other sisters. And I really wanted this reflection conversation to be had so that any of the sisters, any of the brothers, any of the viewers that are watching this, that are just feeling like I don't know what to do with myself, that you're taking that moment to really learn about your strengths, and most importantly, finding words to it, being able to articulate it in a way that makes you feel like you can tell another person, so that you can connect with that person. I think it is human nature that we all want to be able to connect with another human being. And it's through our stories, it's through the words that we're able to articulate what that is and what that looks like. So just thank you for putting yourselves out there. It takes a lot of courage to just even talk about your strengths so openly. And so I thank you, Mia and Ka and Lori, as well as Eva, for doing that, because so many of our sisters right now are looking for a space to be able to thrive. And so thank you for being a part of that as part of Hmong Women Take on the World.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, everyone. I appreciate being part of everyone's journey and being vulnerable. I think that's one of the hardest things is allowing yourself to for other people to hear your own narratives. And I think that when women actually own it, they truly help other women. They truly do. Elizabeth and I were talking earlier before this session just about how we are our worst critics. But let's do the opposite. Let's talk about things we're great at and cheer each other on about it. I think that's one of the most powerful things you can give to a young sister. Like absolutely you're saying, but you're not expected to know everything in the world. But one of the things is that you're great at is knowing who you are. And that's what this does. It helps brings that out about what do you know about you? What are you great at? And work to that knowledge.
Love it. Love it. So as we wrap up the conversation tonight, Eva, I know that you had mentioned that you also do these coaching sessions face-to-face as well. I know that you're a strengths coach. Where can people find you, and what's your next event?
Right. So at the end of the summer, I had did a campaign to help people take the assessment for free. So if you're in the Sacramento area, stay tuned. Right now, I'm working out the logistical stuff, but we're hoping to do a small in-person group session for about 30 to 33 people. So if you are a woman Hmong women who lives in Sacramento, who you're interested in obtaining your top 5, it'll be a 3-hour session, but we get to do a lot of group activities and really tell that story, help each other tell the story of our narratives, of our strengths. And I'm hoping to launch that out in either October or November. And for folks who are unfortunately distant or not in the Sacramento area, watch out for a December session. We'll do another group online session, similar to what Lori, Amia, and Ka have experienced. And so stay tuned for that. And if you get more information, I'll be posting them soon on my Facebook and website. So if you go to facebook.com/lead with 34 strengths, you'll get more information, as well as leadwith34strengths.com. And I'll put that in the link below.
That's awesome. And if you want to have more of these online coaching programs and sessions available to you, comment below. Tell us that you want to see more of this, so that even I know, so that we can create these opportunities. I love virtual online because I have been able to network and connect with like-minded sisters from all around the world. And for me, that has given me just so much joy as well. And so as we wrap up, let's just talk about what are some of our biggest aha moments. And if you are open to having sisters get in touch with you, if they have questions or anything like that, please do share how they may find you. So let's just go around the room, the virtual room, and share what are some of your aha moments and takeaways. And, Eva, I'm going to start with you because I know you were a strengths coach, but, we've had a lot of aha moments. I've really enjoyed working with you throughout this launch as well. But let's start with you, and then I'll open it up to the rest of the ladies.
I think my biggest aha every time I do this is that I always learn a little bit more about each strength. When I think I learned, and I hear someone else tell their story of how that appears in their life, I learn a little bit more and more. And I get so excited because to me, it's like, it's like that fall in love feeling. I get to fall in love with the strength all over again, especially for strengths that I don't have, that are not my top. I get so excited because I'm like, wow, that's so cool. So to me, that's my biggest aha is really getting the opportunity to hear it in a different way.
Love it. Anybody else?
I think for me was what I said earlier was that instead of focusing on my weakness, to focus on my strength. It just made me appreciate myself more, to have that understand that that's my tendency, and I should be focusing on that. In the past, I've always been suppressing that, and so it's been great for me. It's an eye-opener for me, and I just feel excited that I have those strengths and I know what to do with it based on what I've learned from this assessment and the explanation that's provided with all the details from the results.
Thank you.
It's a little funny, but I think my aha moment is like a little bit, it's like opposite from you. Like I know what my strengths are now. I think within each strength there are some things, suggestions on how you could be, I guess, more aware of what you're doing and how you can go on like improving it, or so I feel like from that, like I've learned to kind of balance it out instead of being too, let's say, aggressive on like focusing or something, or being too aggressive on always going on the go and making checking lists and checking it off, and being like, I feel like I slow it down and I celebrate and I learn to enjoy the process, because mine was always so strategic and always on the go and always like on the drive to learn. I just feel to enjoy it now.
Yeah, that's a wonderful one as well too. What about you, Lori?
I would say my aha moment would be just knowing my strength are a bonus and they're rewarding, because they help me meet my daily demands. And so just, examples in like trainings or certification or scheduling, stage presence like this, I just know that it's all like completed tasks that I can do, knowing that I have that strength and I can fulfill those areas that I didn't think about before. And so being able to go through this and to know that strength about myself, it's really encouraging as a Hmong woman to know that if I take on something else, as I look forward to the future, that I know I have the will to get through the challenges and get myself to where I need to be.
Yeah. And I'll share my aha moment too. I really do. So Eva talks about falling in love, and I get lost every single time I talk to my team. I was like, oh my God, I had this amazing conversation with someone. They're like, you say that with everyone. I said, I do. That's because one of my strengths is individualization. So I always see the uniqueness, I feel like, in people. But I think my biggest aha moment is that, each of us brought to the table our own passion, And for me tonight, having each of you here from Alaska to California, Massachusetts, and North Carolina, to me that it just brings me so much joy to see how your faces light up when you talk about your strengths. And to me, my biggest aha moment is truly the fact, there's a quote, but it's when women are empowered that they empower others. But in order for you to empower others, you really have to own your strengths. And my biggest aha moment tonight was really about, there were moments where, I heard from each of you where you were perhaps a little puzzled by your strengths. For me, uncomfortable. For others, it might have just been a little bit of hesitation. But once you just gave in to say, you know what, that is my strength. I'm just going to own it and figure out what to do with it. That it somehow worked itself out for you. And I love that. I love the fact that you had faith in yourself and you pulled through for yourself. So that was my big aha moment as well. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you are watching this and you have enjoyed this conversation, I'd love for you to do 3 things for us tonight. Hashtag live or hashtag replay in the comments if you're catching this later. The second thing I would love for you to do is in the comments also let us know if you want to see more of this, more sisters coming together and having these type of conversations about investing in each other, investing in yourself. And then lastly, if you've been inspired or you learn anything from watching this discussion tonight, please just take a moment to share this. By just a simple gesture of sharing this, you're helping us continue to inspire other people that might come across this to also invest in herself. And whether it's Clifton Strengths or another assessment, at the end of the day, it's really about really getting to know who you are better. And assessments are just a wonderful way to do that, to just better understand who you are. Because when you have more clarity about who you are as a person, that's when you start to see the world in a much different light. And that's when your authentic self starts to show up much more powerfully. So tonight, I thank you for joining us. And from my heart to yours, I want to just let you know that it just continues to bring so much joy to me and all of our sisters as you continue to support Hmong Women Take on the World. So with that, we will talk to you later, and thank you for joining us tonight.